See. Yeah, what's up, man? I just, wanted to officially talk about our new hired offensive coordinator, Philip Montgomery. I want to welcome his wife, Ashley, and their children to Hokie Nation. Couldn't be more excited. Again, it was a good feeling. The coaches that reached out and were interested in this position. It was a good search. Obviously, not as long. Didn't need to be, but a lot of candidates to be excited about. And you start making phone calls and vetting people, and you narrow your list to 10 and then to 6. We had 4 in-person interviews and 3 more over Zoom, and then multiple follow-ups when we narrowed it down to 4. And it was clear to me that Coach Montgomery was our best candidate. And we had some good candidates, but he was the best. He checked the most boxes for what we're looking for to continue to move not just our offense but our program forward. He's a veteran offensive coach. He has a proven track record developing quarterbacks. He's a proven play caller. He's had numerous really successful seasons statistically and with wins as a play caller. When you look at his time at Houston, Case Keenum, Kevin Kolb, some high-powered offenses. Did coach against coach when I was the DC at UL Lafayette, and he was at Houston. We had a barn burner. Obviously at Baylor with RG3, a Heisman Trophy winner. Bryce Petty, Nick Florence, multiple quarterbacks there, and a bunch of successful years and a bunch of wins. And then also his time at Tulsa. Offensively, they have a season that seems unbelievable. They have a quarterback with 3,000 yards, 2 receivers at 1,000, and 2 running backs at 1,000. That's some high production. But also his experience as a head coach, very valuable to me. I just think we've got a true veteran that's been in this game a long time. He's got a genuine approach, a forthright approach. He cares about the players. He's in it for the right reasons. He really wanted this opportunity. He wanted to be at Virginia Tech, which is always important to me. So I couldn't be more excited. I didn't find out till this morning. He knew a lot about Kyron, and I didn't ask why, but just assumed he'd done his research. But Kyron's dad told us this morning that Coach Montgomery had offered Kyron out of high school when he was at Tulsa, so pretty cool there. And they've already connected, Kyron and Monty, so anxious to get those guys going together. But I'll take some questions.
In the 4 coordinator hires you made here, this is the first contemporary one that you've had. This is kind of around your same age here. Was that important to have somebody who's had that kind of experience, that's had a more extensive experience of doing it?
It was. I can't say it was important in the process. I wanted to get the best coach for us. His experience was obviously a positive. And, he's had success. He's had failures. He's growth, development. He's had a genuine approach to this thing, which I respect. You look at each guy's experiences, whether they were good or bad, and you dive into it and what they learned, how they grow, how did it benefit them. And he's got a good list of what he's done in this profession.
You've coached against him before. As a defensive guy, if you're looking at his offenses, how would you describe them? How are they difficult to defend?
Yeah, I think it's a change in tempos, which I like. I think early on they were pretty fast tempo all the time. This is going to be varied. I think his run game has a lot of similarities to what we've had success with here, what I want to do, the run plays, the run schemes that I believe in. That Matt Moore believes in. That was an important piece to this, that he and Matt saw eye to eye on things. But they're going to use the whole field, and the quarterback run game is part of it. I think we need to grow our passing game. I think Philip gives us a great opportunity to do that. He's had a lot of success throwing the football. He's had a lot of success developing quarterbacks. I think we all feel if we get Kyron Drones to play his very best football and be closer to his potential, that bodes well for our offense and our football team.
Brent, do you see Philip as OC quarterbacks coach or just the OC walking around? Will you have say on who he wants as a quarterbacks coach if that's the direction you go?
Yeah, he's the offensive coordinator. He'll obviously be involved heavily with our quarterbacks. But no, right now Brian Christ is working with quarterbacks. There may be some reshuffling at the 100 level, but obviously Coach Montgomery's experience with quarterbacks was an important piece to the hire.
And with it being so late in the game, was it get Philip in place and then have everyone else, stabilized so that way you go into spring, there's a lot of familiar faces and there's not as much change on staff compared to say doing it earlier in the offseason?
Yeah, I'll say this: we just didn't we didn't want to reset this whole thing. We've got a good foundation laid. There's obviously areas we need to improve. But I didn't want to lose what we'd gained, and I think Coach Montgomery, he appreciates that too. He identified it, watching our film study and those things, and I think we didn't want to go two steps backwards, to get this thing rolling in the right direction and be successful in the fall.
You mentioned how he adjusted to his personnel with being up-tempo at Houston, Baylor, and then scaling it back at Tulsa. Did you like that ability to adapt to the personnel, and how do you think that fits with what the personnel is here?
Yeah, that was a big part of the interview, talking about assimilation and with the personnel that we have, with where we're at as an offense right now. Where do you pick up? What do we do differently? What do we eliminate? How do we use the players in our program? And we went through some of them specifically, obviously starting with Kyron. Obviously, what his answer to those questions were what I needed to hear, what I wanted to hear.
Was he somebody who popped up in the coaching search right away? I mean, I know this wasn't a long search, so it probably had to happen quickly, but was he one of the immediate ones that you thought of? And if so, were there references that you sought out or people that you've coached with that know him well?
Yeah, he was on the initial list. And, I think the weather last week, we didn't bring him in towards the end of the thing, but that was more so because of the weather. There's a lot of to me, you vet to get a list together that you feel good about, and then you go through that list and you narrow it down. You go through an interview process, and then when you have questions, you're going to have questions. You're going to have things that you want to learn more about on each individual after the interview. So you go back to the phones and you dig a little deeper. If you have a concern, you dive into it and learn more. And in the end, that's what separated guys, and that's what led me to Philip.
You said the opportunity to sort of advance the pass game here. Where do you think that's been lagging? What do you think is areas that need to improve in that spot specifically, other than just production?
Yeah, I think number one, we need to trust Kyron more. We need to get to a point where he's confident in what he sees and what he can do. We need to throw the ball down the field more. And I think, it starts with him, with Kyron, being able to feel better about what he sees, what he can do with the football, the trust and the confidence there. And then it's having the plan that makes sense, that caters to his strengths. And, again, something that was talked about in the interview process. And, Kyron's not the only quarterback in that room, but certainly it starts with him. And, the familiarity, after watching film and identifying Kyron's strengths and weaknesses and areas he can grow and where a coach can help him, that was part of the discussion.
Other questions for Coach? Let's go to Zoom for a couple.
On Zoom, please use the raise hand feature to ask questions for Coach Pry. Please also state your name and outlet before your question, and we'll open it to questions for Coach Pry. We'll start with David, please.
Brent, this is David Teal. Did you by chance talk to Bud about the Independence Bowl that was, 55-52, Coach Beamer's last game, and what it was like to defend against Coach Montgomery?
I was well aware of the game. Coach Montgomery and I discussed it. I avoided talking to Bud about it till after we hired Philip. I tell you, Coach Foster had a ton of respect for Coach Montgomery, for that ball game, for the offense he brought in there, and the way they played.
And obviously, Coach Montgomery worked a long time with Art Briles. Did you talk to Art Briles about it?
I did not speak to Art. I spoke to many guys that in that circle that either worked with Coach Montgomery or coached against him.
Is that Art Briles, Mike Leach influence? Is that appealing in today's modern football?
It was, yes, sir. I learned more about it as we went. Coach Montgomery was with Art all the way back in high school in Texas, and grew in that package with him, had a heavy influence on it. And then it was nice to see him go to Tulsa and do a few things differently that were right for Tulsa. Again, I think. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
When you look at the whole body of his work, just kind of from start to now, and the nuances, the changes, the growth, even the experience at Auburn was important in the process for me.
And then last time we spoke to you, it was kind of TBD on what you and Sam were going to decide about defensive assignments and the like. Have decisions been made there?
They have. There's nothing earth-shattering. I'd probably rather not discuss it right now, David, but in due time here we'll roll out any reshuffling we've done on both sides of the ball.
Okay, and then finally, last one from me. Is there any chance that Coach Montgomery's son, who's at Houston Baptist, who coaches on the offensive side, will he be part of the staff?
Yeah, it's too early to say. Obviously, we did speak of his son. I'm well aware that he's in the industry, and we had a discussion about his son.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Got time for a couple more questions for Coach Pry. Are there any final questions on Zoom for Coach Pry? Final questions for Coach Pry on Zoom? Okay, Travis?
All right, we'll go Andy and then Brooke.
You said the Auburn experience that he had to learn something from that. What did you learn about him or from him about that year that he had there?
Yeah, I'm not going to dive into it in detail, but he was pretty forthright about what happened, and where he could have done better, where the situation could have been better. But we also made some phone calls and talked to multiple people on the staff at that time, and got their perspective on it. And it was a tough situation, I think, for several people. But again, something he grew, he learned from. I think we're getting the best version of Philip Montgomery right now.
You said a couple barn burners with him back in the day. Do you remember those specifically?
No,
Or did
just
those-
one. Yeah,
Oh,
we
that was
went to their
two.
place.
Okay.
Yeah, we did come out on top, but don't dig up those statistics because I think I feel a little bit like Bud did with that bowl game. You win a game, but you don't play well on defense. So they had an explosive offense, and we were very fortunate to win the game. But I think it was just that one time we squared off, maybe twice. They may have come to us prior to that.
Back of the room, Brooke.
Coach, how do you kind of prevent a rebuild or taking two steps back in kind of an unprecedented time where you now have two brand new coordinators coming in and trying to light some fire in here?
Yeah, I think first of all, there was a lot of candidates that were interested on both sides of the ball, but there had to be enough carryover to where it wasn't a wholesale reboot. But I wanted some change. Change is good, and there'll be some new things on each side of the ball that our guys defensively are already excited about. And offensively, I think gives us a great chance to grow, and they'll be excited. Fresh ideas are good, especially when they're good ones.
So Damian, we'll finish with Andy.
Brent, you mentioned the run game. What aspects of his run game scheme excite you, especially fitting in with the new stable of backs you brought in?
Yeah, again, I don't want to get into specifics, but the runs that he believes in and how you block them, very similar to what we do, to what we believe in. The runs that were good to us. A lot of discussion, dialogue. Even before we interviewed Philip in person, he and Matt spent an hour and a half on the phone talking through things, protections, run game, how you block wide zone, that was important to me. I probably didn't do a good enough job of that in my first 3 years here, making sure that those guys are vibing with each other and have a similar belief system.
Last one, Andy.
It's now February 17th. I think since the bowl game, you've had maybe 2 days where you had 2 coordinators on the staff at the same time. Does it feel like it's just been kind of constant motion? Is there a chance to exhale here, or what's the process like now where this seems kind of late in the process to be concluding this?
Yeah, we're about 3 weeks out. We've got up to spring break, which is a 3-week period. And then we got a few days when we come back off of spring break, and then we start spring ball. So, 3.5 weeks to kind of get each side of the ball ready, all 3 phases really. But we've got some support staff. We still got some periphery things to fill. But, this was important work these couple of weeks. I think everybody knows how I feel about Virginia Tech and our players and this fan base. And, so we've done a nice job, and I feel good about the hires we've made. There's a couple more that will roll out here. None as high profile as our coordinator jobs, but important pieces to what we're doing. Good people that want to be at Tech for the right reasons and are bringing talent and promise here. So I'm excited about it. We're not home yet. We got a few more hires to make and a few things to get done, but certainly got the meat of it behind us.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thanks, everybody.